calculated at times, in your face kind of aggression.
We like to call it calculated chaos, all right? That's what we like to coin it as. We're going to go ahead and load on into Champion Select. It's going to be Berjaya Dragons on the blue side, Machi Esports on your red. And start things off with the mid lane being under fire immediately from both squads. Syndra, Zoe, as well as Zakarma now being banned out.
Yeah, and Ezreal, while being K2's second most played champion, has been Bruce's go-to, and that's why I think it's bannable, but also first pickable for Berjaya here if it does slip through pick ban. Look at that marksman pool as being the hot point of contention, because again, our major criticism of the Machi bot lane were their constraints in that regard. And also take a look at Berjaya, given the fact that they actually have surprising amounts of depth between the solo laners in particular when it comes to whacking out some more creative picks.
I do kind of like what Berjaya Dragons have kind of done, though. They kind of taken the PSG approach to how they took their victories back in spring and just 3-ban mission. That seems to be the play here. Get rid of his primary picks that we have seen so far during summer. Meanwhile, for Machi, you did mention that Ashe could be either banned away or first picked. In the case of Machi, they say we don't want to see K2 on it. Does mean, though, the Graves not going to be available for Gemini as he does get picked up for Enzo.
Yeah, kind of sad that Machi could indeed lock their signature Ezreal on this rotation, but also a little bit thrilled that we're finally seeing Enzo off of the Trundle. He's put up some good Graves performances as of recent. His Volibear's been somewhat uninspiring, but hey, fine, at least it's not Trundle. And yeah, off to a good start for the Berjaya Dragons now that they've secured a comfort pick that can give them a lot of proactivity in the early game.
We do see, though, for Mission, it is going to be a repeat of what we saw earlier in the day, and it was his Twisted Fate that it helped out and keep Machi within striking distance of Alpha with some good destinies down toward the bot side of the map.
Yeah, there's the Ezreal for Bruce as well, and my main concern here is that we actually see K2 not playing Kalista once so far this split. So I'm a little bit concerned as to how Berjaya are going to answer this bot lane kind of pressure being exerted.
Interesting here, though, from Berjaya, we might see Malon take a little bit of page out of Nest's book and maybe run the Morgana into the mid lane up against the Twisted
Morgana
Fate.
has 30 KDA, granted only across 2 games, but
it's by one person in particular, that being Nesty.
I respect it. That being said, though, yeah, good answer TF in mid lane. You just soak the gold card with the black shield. Can also run it bot lane to kind of be that insurance policy that the Aphelios will reach his late game spike pretty much unhindered if you do send it bot. And now we're looking for Berjaya to probably just trim out the top lane pool a little bit and get Ozzy a decent matchup into PK. Ornn seems to be Ozzy's go-to, but he has played the Sylas into it and does have a couple of options up his sleeve.
Well, options starting to be withered away. Is PK also going to have some pool taken away as Machi go ahead, ban out the Mordekaiser. Berjaya Dragons getting rid of the Renekton. And we'll see whether or not that Ornn is going to make it on through, or if Machi just say, nope, that's not going to be the case, as again, it's going to get banned.
Yeah, just actually consulting my stats right now because I am looking, and it's actually 16 of that 30 KDA on the Morgana was contributed by Malon popping off last time he took that into the mid lane earlier in this split.
And my question is here. Now we got the Camille being banned out by Berjaya, so they're not going to allow PK to actually get accelerated like we saw last time around. Instead, he's going to be the one on the Monkey King as the Wukong gets locked in.
Yeah, Wukong, of course, being one of the only top laners left on the table right now. We've seen Sylas, we've seen Aatrox, we've seen Karma, Gragas even making an appearance for RC. I wouldn't like to see Kennen, but it is safe enough that you can disengage from the TF, so maybe we actually see that. Given the state of the current draft, though, I think a Graves actually... Sorry, a Jace wouldn't be a miss here for the side of Berjaya.
See what the plan is going to be here, as the Thresh is going to get locked in. So for Delulu, not going to get, say, the Nautilus that he loves to go on, or possibly the Leona for the heavy engage, but still some ability to do just that. And you mentioned that Kennen has the option available for Berjaya as that top lane pickup. Pair that with the Black Shield, you get into the back line and cause havoc with the Slicing Maelstrom.
Yeah, definitely do have to be conscious of that, but also do give a little bit of a shout out to, as we said, the TF ult just being super difficult to execute on something as heavily mobile as the cannon. If Ozzy can keep his distance here, bully PK from a screen away, never really letting the Wukong close the gap, you can start to see a pushing top lane, allowing Enzo to get in Gemini's face, and then we should start to see Bajaya off to a very, very good start through these solo lanes and the jungle.
So some options here for Bajaya in the early game. We'll see whether or not they can make that the case, as again, you're going up against Machi Esports, a still very intimidating team. Even though they did lose out to Alpha, still got to consider that might have been just a one-off thing, and they've now come to play here in the early game and not get taken advantage of like we've seen before.
Yeah, disgusting amount of siege potential between Ezreal and Nidalee for the side of Machi. So if they get rolling, if they get that momentum early, they can then just poke, hard engage with Leona, TF, or Wukong when the enemy team are low, and run away with the game if given the opportunity here.
Well, here we go. We're going to go ahead, get locked and loaded for our final game of the night. Bajaya Dragons taking on Machi Esports here to finish off day 2 of week 6 as we get closer and closer to that playoff race.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
You know, sometimes, Abriz, you do concern me. You know, even though we are working remotely, we do always have a cam on one another, so we can make, you know, silly faces. But, you know, sometimes you actually just look like you're in pain sometimes, and I actually just want to make sure you're okay.
I would be in pain if we saw Enzo default to Trundle again, but happy days from here on out with the Graves. Yeah. I'm in pain whenever Rumble isn't picked. My heart hurts just a little bit.
It's going to be a while. Unfortunately, Uniboy hasn't brought it back out since, you know, spring. Man, you would have loved spring then. Unfortunately, just weren't around.
I love spring globally because Rumble was pick ban.
Yeah, exactly. It was a great time for you Rumble main. I don't know if it was good for you Rumble mains, actually, because it just kind of meant that usually all your ranked games would be banned out. But nonetheless, there is no Rumble. There is going to be, of course, that Kennen up and toward the top lane up against PK, where you did mention if Ozzy is able to get a slight advantage, that could open up the top side of the map for Bajaya.
Yeah, looking at Ozzy starting with the Doran's Blade, pretty standard for Kennen since day one, really. Just auto-attack from a distance. Your Adaptive Force is also AD now, so you can hit harder. Speaking of hitting hard, though, with some AD.
It is going to be Bruce downstairs alongside Koala. You did see maybe trying to get a little cheeky amount of damage, but you still need that level 2 on the Leona before you try and go for any crazy plays onto Delulu and K2.
Yeah, and just seeing that commitment for the tier 1 brush did make me check the inventories for some sweepers, because, you know, in the Battle of Engaged Supports, whoever wins is the player with control of that first bush in the bottom lane. Only one is on Gemini's Nidalee. That means that we should see the Machi jungler actually have the advantage when it comes to pressuring out some of these early ganks.
And that kind of puts an onus here onto Enzo, too, because we want to see Enzo, instead, he's not on something like a Trundle. You're going to be able to hopefully keep pace with this Nidalee in the jungle as far as farming goes, and not fall behind like we have seen him do time and time again when he's on something like a Trundle.
Yeah, so rule of thumb is that for every 5 camps the Nidalee gets, the Graves should only ever be 1 camp behind at worst. So yeah, one of the junglers that can actually keep up with her. I'm not keen on the fact that Mission just keeps randomly gold carding creeps, but maybe red or blue would have been a better way to clear that one out. But
hey, you know what? You gotta show the intimidation. All right, you gotta bait out that Black Shield. Don't know if it's the best because you can't really Black Shield minions, but hey, maybe Mission himself isn't on fire as of late. Again, he had a rather rough game we saw earlier on during the night where he kind of just disconnected from the rest of the team. And speaking about disconnected here, PK, unfortunately, top side might get dove, but it looks like it's a little bit of a misfire.
Yeah, not only did they juggle aggro pretty scarily there, but also consider that Graves can't auto through towers, so yeah, just really, really rough series of events there for the Vijaya top side. Showing there as well allows the Nidalee to invade, and because she clears so quickly, takes your camp, leaves, job done. Really, really rough start for the side of Vijaya, but at least they didn't die yet. Gonna commit again for a top lane play, but PK is back to full health, teleported back in, and still a Wukong, who's A, hard to dive because of decoy, and B, not auto-attackable through the tower because you're Graves.
Yeah, you saw they at least had some vision onto Gemini on toward the bot side of the map because of that ward into the Tri-Brush. So they saw Gemini looking to invade and get some Krugs, and they thought, hey, maybe we could try and make a play. Mission, though, not paying attention to his screen, is going to get rooted on up as Malon's able to delay that back just a little bit longer. Meanwhile, bot lane, though, K2 gets himself back to safety out of range of Koala, but that's a decent amount of damage being put down here onto the Aphelios.
Yeah, you actually saw the riskier choice of going for the bind, waiting for the travel time, the potential sidestep as well, to interrupt the recall there. It's because you saw Mawan wanting to hold his W for the wave. He wanted to use it to clear it out, crash it, and answer the fact the mission was going to TP into this mid lane. Something super key to note that we may have missed, by the way, is that both mid laners using all of the stacks of their DMAT does mean that TF now clears out all the caster creeps with a Q, and Morgana clears out all the caster creeps with a single full duration W. Perma push in this mid lane for both mids.
And in theory, that should allow for roams at the very least, as Mission, once he does hit that level 6, will be a little bit more mobile than Mawan, obviously, but we do see Machi might be trying to make a play already toward the top side of the map, as Gemini is going to show himself, puts down that trap, not going to be able to land the spear, but still getting that mark, forcing a flash out of the cannon.
Solid. So he put down the Nidalee W trap, as you mentioned, and then speared. So the cannon, if you wanted to sidestep the mark from the spear, had to move back. And by the time he moved back and then kept running, the trap had armed, ran over the trap, got marked, had to flash out for fear of being executed off of the pounce reset. And just really good mechanical play coming through from Gemini, who, as we mentioned, hadn't had the greatest of springs and did look a little bit behind on the mechanics side of things. Looking pretty good so far this split for Machi.
You know, ever since the swap up in the meta to bring out the Graves as well as the Nidalee back when we saw him at the mid-season showdown, has been looking rather good when it comes to those meta picks. Does mean, though, you saw Ozzy. He wasn't too worried at the very least. Was going to go back, already now picking up his revolver.
Yeah, going to be building towards either the Proto Belt or the Gunblade, depending. You can go Proto Belt for the team fights, Gunblade for the split push. Well, Vijaya, credit to them. They know they're stronger right now. They know they have the better push bot lane, but this could be a contest.
There we go. Destiny is going to be popped, and we'll see whether or not Enzo is going to be that main target. In comes the Twisted Fate. It's a little bit late to the party as Gold Card is there. Delulu with a flash engage with the Death Sentence, not able to connect onto Mission. Does force out a flash out of the mid lane of Machi. But in the end, Berjaya are going to be the ones that secure the first dragon of the game.
Yeah, not only that, but they get the Destiny and the flash from the TF. Suddenly Mission, even if he finds an opportunity to roam, as we said, going to be pretty difficult because Morgana perma pushes with the DMAT empowered W. Just a really rough time for the Machi mid laner, again, after struggling in that earlier game.
And that now, like you mentioned, gives them a little bit of room, because obviously he's going into his Roa first, not building necessarily cooldown reduction right away, and gives a little bit more breathing space, especially possibly to Ozzy, which, if we mentioned, if he's able to get a push in toward this top lane, can open up Enzo to get into the jungle of Gemini. Yeah,
issue is, again, the fact that Graves is kind of bad at diving. Wukong is really difficult to dive, and here's a fight, but...
Oh, they were actually able to get the engage out of Koala, and Delulu said, hey, come and get a little bit closer, as Enzo comes on over the wall, flashing on forward. Exhaust is going to be laid on down. Heal comes out from Bruce. Koala trying to get himself back to safety. No flash to get him back on over the wall, and that's going to be first blood going on over to Enzo.
Yeah, instant cleanse flash from K2 there to disengage from Leona, and then a good follow-up from Delulu. Hook came through, forced Koala out, and Enzo was just happily in the area, ready to follow up, ready to respond. Cleared out his Krugs, and then was like, alright guys, I guess we can path here, because for some reason the Machi bot lane pulled the trigger on this one.
and consistent elements of Machi so far when it comes to today, unfortunately, just not going in their favors. Now, Koala makes that little bit of a misstep, getting a little bit too aggressive in that bot lane.
I mean, even looking at the minimap there, the Morgana had the roam and the push mid. Nidalee was in base. Just didn't make sense for Machi to commit to that one.
So now we do see Machi at least trying to salvage the situation by trying to get pressure up toward the top side of the map. Koala already roaming on in.
Ozzy.
That's Ozzy. Popping the Slicing Maelstrom, gets a little bit of damage. You see Bruce has to back off, and now getting funneled into the pit, and they steal away the Rift Herald off the eye. And just like that, it goes bad to worse here for Machi as they have to find escapes by burning summoners.
Yeah, big disengage from Machi there on the tail end of that one. Steal comes through from Bajaya. It looked weird because Ozzy didn't get a good Slicing Maelstrom, had to pop it to disengage from the Leona and PK who are on top of him. And yet, Bajaya still find their way in here, get the Herald, can crack open mid-tier 1 with it, and really shut down any kind of roams from Mission in the near future.
And obviously, this kind of looked like a team fight too, that when you see the Slicing Maelstrom being used immediately by Ozzy, you say, oh, that's kind of one of those big components that you need, but Machi themselves were spread apart so much that they couldn't do anything.
Yeah, you had Mission a little bit late to the party, all the big wombo combo ults, either just not in any position to be used, or in Koala's case, not even skilled yet because he is level 5. So yeah, just really weird choice of fight potential from Machi here, and you have to think that was them trying to salvage the fact they lost a bot side skirmish, they lost the Drake, they lost so much, and tried to hard commit topside for it.
And now as far as objectives go, Bajaya doing rather well, and you saw during the pregame, those stats never really went up into their favor. They were often the ones to give up dragons, to give up first towers, and well, sure, they haven't taken a tower just yet, but they are slotted to do so with this Rift Herald if they're able to find a pick.
Yeah, if they can just get one single kill, it will be a tier 1 into a big snowball, which is what we mentioned we'd like to see. Credit to Bajaya for maintaining this lead for themselves. Thing is that they are still pretty teamfight focused, and that would give Machi a little bit of a way back into the fight. That being said, Morgana Q, Thresh Q, very, very potent at finding picks, especially towards this mid game. And once you crack open that mid lane tier 1 with the Herald, you can start to see them be a little bit more aggressive with trying to find their marks.
See here, though, pings are coming out. Mission's looking for a roam. There you go. Destiny's going to be popped. In comes the Slicing Maelstrom and a response teleport, as that is going to be the answer they're looking for, as there comes the Morgana ultimate. Lock it down, Mission, and Enzo is on fire this game. 4 kills on the Graves.
Absolutely stunning rotation there from the side of Bajaya. Enzo shadowing any kind of engagement from the side of Machi. Mission getting followed by Maoan as well. Just really great play coming through from Bajaya here in the early stages.
And one single pick helps open up that top side of the map.
TP?
Are they actually able to finish it off as Ozzy? It's a little bit crazy. PK going to try and finish him off, and yes, he will be able to, but Malon now and Enzo have to get themselves back on the retreat. You do see
Mission?
now, Mission running on in. He's a speedy TF boy, and the gold card is going to land. Gemini picking up a kill as Machi are able to respond with kills of their own, but meanwhile, turret was taken, and down in bot lane, action don't stop, but it will be disengaged.
2-4-2, but Machi lose first blood tower. Bajaya hard commit, Bajaya get punished, but Bajaya still get the net advantage out of that one. Good disengage here from Ozzy. He read it like a book as soon as Wukong goes on him before TF even shows. Out of there. And then Mawan, the TP to follow. Stella, positioning from Enzo. Stella, just really, really great proactive play from this Bajaya top side. Shelly is the 4th member. Shelly does her work.
And action
and
in
the bot lanes now
continues as Bruce is able to get some damage back onto Enzo. Can they
Gemini?
finish off? As Gemini trying to go forward, finishes it off with the auto attack, and that's a big shutdown going on over. Mission wants to join in onto the fight. Ozzy with the cannon, can't get the range, doesn't have the flash to go for the dive, and has to back off.
Yeah, Mawan is here. It's a little bit late to the party though, and the Morgana will struggle to find a pick in amongst the minion waves. Really, really promising that they went so aggressively on that. Bajaya, we said they need to be proactive early, take Machi by storm. The play was a little bit clumsy, a little bit messy, but it does work out. Issue is, Machi now have a good reset timing around this Infernal Drake.
Yeah, I see Enzo, he is running in. Same with Gemini, though, so it does look like both teams are going to kind of get back into that line of scrimmage in the river. But let's take a look at how that all started. Is I think it's off to Lulu, which wouldn't shock me. The guy loves to go for engages if that's the case, especially with Enzo nearby.
It was solid, I guess. Credit to Koala for just blocking for Bruce there. Really didn't want the Ophelio snare to tag into the Thresh hook. And then, yeah, just good read by Gemini, good damage from Gemini. Mission's here, but what's Mission gonna do? Answer is not a whole lot of anything, as Machi used that pressure to start up the Drake, but it's a little slow.
A little slow, and also going to be a reset, as that now opens up an opportunity here for Berjaya to get some prio down towards the bot lane. You do see Ozzy is nearby for this possible play. Gemini needs to be close, and that is going to be stolen as Enzo is able to claim it. Slicing Maelstrom is going to be able to zone back the team as PK gets taken on down. And just like that, once again, Berjaya Dragons able to find and expose weakness as Hogue comes over Enzo. Mission can't finish off the kill, has the gold card available, but doesn't do any damage at this point. And that is disaster, as that's the second dragon secured for Berjaya.
That feels so disgustingly bad for Mission. He hard commits to try and zone out Mawan. Mawan Black Shields the initial gold card. By the time Black Shield is off, just Hourglass is the second one. And this big team fight, they're all focused on the backline, so Kennen just ignores the Wukong, goes straight in. Happy days. Look, this was so funny. Black Shield on the initial gold card, and then Mission's like, I can hold it, I can wait for it, I can wait for it, and then he waits, but then Hourglass, well, stopwatch. Beautiful play coming through from Mawan on another pocket pick of his.
And back into the skirmish. I'm liking it for Berjaya. They are able to keep this goal rather even, and with two dragons in hand. Now look to set up toward the Mountain Soul that's going to be starting to spawn here as they cycle it possibly around that 23-minute, 24-minute mark.
5 kills in pocket of Enzo right now. Even going for the lethality Graves build, well, actually maybe just sits on the Dirk as Graves tends to do when he does get ahead.
Going to allow him to get a little bit of extra damage himself. As there we go. Malon going to be able to pick up his blue buff. And Enzo in prime position to act as a carry, as we often say he is the inactive jungler when it comes to Berjaya. Often onto a Trundle that we don't get to see a whole lot of play. This time on him to help drive this early mid game in favor of Berjaya.
Yeah, the Trundle training weights have finally been shed here by the Berjaya jungler. He is on it, and he is being proactive. 6 out of 6 kill participations in the first 16 minutes. Double objective secure on the Drakes, plus a Rift Herald to boot. And this man is nigh untouchable right now. Insane performance coming through. And it's not like Gemini's a pushover. It's not like Gemini hasn't been stellar this split either. Just really clear dominance being established by the Berjaya jungler.
And I have to ask, what's going on here with Machi today? This has been a bit out of form from them. On top of that, too, we expected a little bit more out of Mission on this Twisted Fate. Every time he went for a Destiny, he got kind of shut down, other than the one time down in bot lane. And we've kind of reached past that, 15-minute mark where that TF is supposed to give you all this pressure around the map. Well, it might end up him opting back into a split-pushing kind of style that we saw earlier on.
Actually, I was going to say, I think you'll find the reason why Kennen isn't contesting this turret is because TF global pressure, but it's not. TF's top. The fact of the matter was that Gemini was living in the bot side jungle, so yeah, Arzi couldn't really move up. Yeah, honestly, super underwhelmed with Mission's TF today. It's his pocket pick as well, which really does feel bad, considering the sheer amount of answers the teams have had into it. And you have to consider, can we now reliably see him blind pick TF, or does this team have to be a little bit more conscious of the fact that they can get taken blow for blow by some of these even lower tier teams?
It kind of scares you across the region as a whole, as all of a sudden these dominating teams are starting to drop games that should be heavily in their favor. For Mission, though, he's starting to come online himself. Almost finished off stacking the Roa and starting to work toward his Lich Bane. He'll have some extra cooldown reduction, some extra little bit of damage himself. But speaking of items, K2 now sitting on the Infinity Edge as well as that Proto Belt. And we do see the Glaive actually being the upgrade here for Enzo's Dirk.
Yeah, just really going to help him sweep out the vision, completely control the map.
There you go. Over toward the side. Enzo's going to be nearby. That's 2 teleports being brought out. Do they sniff out Gemini over toward the side, or both top laners just back off?
Yeah, the bot lane from Machi having the onus on that rotation as well did mean there was no sort of further contest from Berjaya. Mission didn't flash that initial binding, and I thought he was dead to rights, especially since Morgana stun, the Soul Shackles, obviously connects through Hourglass. But end of the day, he is more than fine. Yes, Berjaya are still very much in the lead, but Machi did well to hold on there and actually have carved out a sizable gold lead for themselves.
I saw Destiny being used here. That's only just to give Machi some idea of where all of Berjaya is ahead of this Dragon spawn, as well as get a little bit of a push here in toward the bot lane. But teleport used by Mawon, wants to rejoin onto the fight. We'll see now what Machi is looking to do here, trying to prevent the third dragon of the game to going over towards Berjaya.
Yeah, Berjaya just really looking forward to having these neutral objectives to skirmish around, especially since they have this Dirk that you mentioned, the Glaive completed for the Graves. It lets them choke out this vision, it lets them sweep, and it lets them force Machi to face check into Fog of War and get picked by a Morgana Q or a Thresh Hook.
See, just dancing around this dragon once more. Machi decide, all right, we want to try and get a little bit of pressure into toward mid lane, but Berjaya are there to answer immediately.
Yeah, Berjaya now just looking to, again, shove for mid-prio, and then, again, shove for vision denial, and then finally stake a claim for this next Drake.
Thing is, though, take a look. Cooldowns are available for both of your top laners. Both want those impact ultimates. Ultimate comes out immediately from Delulu. Some decent damage, though, coming back onto the Thresh. It's going to be that Black Shield. It's maybe a little bit too late, as the True Shot Barrage will be able to find its target, and Berjaya are the one down a member.
Yeah, True Shot Barrage shredding through 5 members' health bars really did cement that Berjaya couldn't turn that one around. Still going to try for it though. Fishing with Glacial Augment Twin Shadows, Mawon could 1v9 if given the opportunity.
And Ozzy still has Slicing Maelstrom as well as his Flash, but you do see over on the side of Berjaya, they're a little bit hesitant, don't want to try and go for the risky play, and will concede the first dragon to Machi here so far in the game.
I like how they're thinking about the contest, kind of umming and ahhing about it, and their jungler was the one who was 3 screens away, saying, actually, no, I don't really want to get in there. Yeah, really odd commitment from the side of Berjaya, just to go all in on Koala, who of course did live, didn't even need to flash out. And yeah, Berjaya, a little bit of a mid-game throw here as Machi.
Ozzy. That's going to be Destiny popped. Unfortunately, Destiny even used. Didn't need it. And now he's going to take some tower shots.
Swag.
Nonetheless, you know, it's all the style points coming out.
Yeah, exactly that.
He needed his first kill to have some style, as he's finally on the board himself.
Cool guys don't look at explosions, so he destinied behind the cannon and was like, huh.
Oh my lord,
Oh my, I can't even do it. What's the,
though?
Yeah, okay.
Never mind, what you're saying.
No, I was just gonna say I can't remember what the Japanese quote of Fist of the North Star that you already dead kind of meme, but Bruce may be dead.
Bruce trying to get himself back to safety. You see a lot of commitment coming out from Berjaya. Koala forced to flash away himself. Dark Binding not going to land. Descent will, but in comes the re-engage from the side of Machi as Koala's hunting Zenith Blade. Going to connect the play. Is able to knock him back, but not far enough as he's saying taken down, but does get answered as K2 on the Aphelios is able to find himself a kill.
Yeah, koalas may be herbivores, but that was bloodthirsty all the way down. The support of Machi trading his life for Delulu's there, just going all in on the re-engage, and well, the fight's not over yet. Here's a bit of a skirmish, but okay. Yeah, this was just rough. Hook, nice. Whoa, the threading of the needle.
Gets there onto Bruce. Unfortunately there for Berjaya. Can't instantly burst him down or get that CC, and it gets a little bit tricky with that re-engage.
Yeah, it definitely does. Feels like a bit of a hard commitment from Machi, but they're getting gold. They're fine to trade like this, as long as, you know, come the later stages of the game, you keep your distance from the Aphelios and just, you know, siege from a screen away. Nidalee Spear, Ezreal Q, it's all good.
Moonlight Vigil, unfortunately Delulu not on target when it comes to that death sentence, as True Shot Barrage will be used to just try and get some damage back, but meanwhile, tower is going to be taken down by a minion wave, but it will be answered here in mid lane as Brajaya opens up the midsection of the map.
Yeah, Bajaya now cracking that one open, as we mentioned, would be super crucial towards them actually playing with the Fog of War. Use the Graves glaive to really clear things out, and then make Machi face check into a Morg Binding, into a Thresh Hook, into any of this ample pick potential. Issue is, Leona seems to be too tanky for them to kill even now, so you're already down one very valid target when it comes to picking someone off.
And I'll be frank here too, I think our top laners, they've been part of so many skirmishes as of late that you can see those farm numbers have started to deteriorate quite a bit, considering you expect this Kennen to just kind of be in the side lane trying to apply pressure, but you can just tell that Brajaya are always opting to try and make things happen. But guess what? Gemini and the Co and the squad comes on through and they instantly delete the Kennen.
Yeah, mission there for good measure as well, but unnecessary. Gemini still dealing a ton of damage at this stage of the game. Didn't go for the Athenes that we see a lot of Nidalee's rushing. Instead said, look, I am the carry now. I'm going to rush my Lich Bane, and I am going to shred this Kennen's health bar.
So with that, Machi are going to go ahead and find themselves a reset, as the next dragon will be spawning in about a minute. So we'll see now what Brajaya as well as Machi wish to do. I want to see whether or not, like you mentioned, Enzo is at least able to get over to the area. Having that glaive should be able to deny a decent amount of vision, as Delulu himself is already advancing forward.
Yeah, looking at Machi as just having a little bit of pick potential themselves. Issue being that they need to commit Leona, they need to commit TFR, they need to commit Wukong into the enemy backline if they're going to find a pick. There's no, let me throw out a cursory Thresh Q or a Morgana Bind and hope for the best. If it hits, we go in. If it misses, it misses, sure. Machi, if they want to take a similar kind of pick approach to the game, need to fully commit to these fights.
And we've yet to also see a fight where Bruce actually just tagging their K2. That's a decent amount of damage starting to come online for the Ezreal with the double items finished off. But we've yet to see a proper 5v5 with K2 now online, with this Aphelios sitting on about 70% crit chance as well. Opted to go for the lethal tempo this game, so the late game team fights, he's going to be a machine gun.
Yeah, definitely going to be dishing out the deeps there. Unfortunately, had to go for Gauntlet to create some space between him and the Aphelios, but hey, it's fine. Still dishing out the damage, as you could see. And Machi used the pressure of that consistent poke to really just secure another Mountain Drake on top of the one they already had.
And Brajaya are starting to feel like they're just kind of letting go of a lot of the map pressure they were able to build up over the course of this game so far, as PK is just free hitting down toward the bot lane because this Kennen wasn't able to get ahead, forced to have to use the Slicing Maelstrom. Mission comes on by, he finishes off the kill, and Brajaya are left to their own devices in mid.
Incredibly close there to PK actually dropping, but yeah, Machi just up the tempo, up the pressure. Don't even commit for this mid lane tier 2, don't commit for the Baron, don't do much of anything. Brajaya get pulled around the map.
And now it's a question of how does Brajaya respond, because we're starting to see, again, more and more control let go, and it's a very bad sign when your Kennen now cannot really do anything even underneath an inhibitor tower.
Yeah, genuinely really difficult situation for Ozzy to be in. Can't 1v1, built for team fights, isn't finding team fights because someone has to deal with the Wukong in the side lane, has to deal with TF in the side lane. Really rough time for the Brajaya top laner. That being said, can still find a highlight reel worthy TP flank in the next fight, you have to imagine, if Brajaya can set up appropriately for it. Right now though, vision completely in favor of Machi. Just the mid lane is basically all that Brajaya see right now.
Yeah, and that's considering also, you know, Enzo has that glaive that's supposed to be able to just be denying vision rather frequently. Unfortunately, if Brajaya are getting pushed in back underneath their own towers in mid, or just being, you know, squeezed into this mid lane, can't really leave and join the action elsewhere and deny that vision away from Machi as they look to set up now toward Baron.
Yeah, oh.
Delulu, flash hook coming on out, but that is going to be the full engage coming out from Mawon. Gold card was not able to land. Destiny comes on over. Cyclone able to get the knockup. Slicing Maelstrom now onto the two front
Mission.
members. But guess what? That is not where you needed to go. Mission into the back line. Mawon gets sniped by the Mystic Shot. And Machi have come online. They have come back to play as they're able to take down 3 members of Berjaya Dragons.
And with one huge team fight swing in their favor, Machi closed this Baron down. They lock it up, they get what they want, and now they look to rotate that lead elsewhere on the map. No Drake for another 2 minutes, so hey, why not set your sights on an inhib after securing this big objective?
And unfortunately, too, with all these fights that were breaking out and Aussie being pretty much just camped away during the early portion of this game, this Kennen still very far behind, only picking up his second item now. And it starts off what looked like a great opportunity for Berjaya, but then gets turned around.
Yeah, kind of unlucky. The mistiming on the Morg ult there didn't actually end up stunning Gemini, though I doubt it would have made a difference. Looking at the way this fight panned out, Bruce untouched, able to join the fight at whim because everything was commit for his jungle and mid laner, who both survived, by the way. Clean 3 kills for the side of Machi.
And you start to get into the situation now where Machi has themselves the Baron buff, feeling comfortable. We'll see whether or not now they can try and at least crack open possibly a second tier tower, maybe even knock onto the base if they're able to find a pick in their way. And for Berjaya, I kind of have to ask, you know, what ended up happening to this game, because it felt like they had the advantage early on. We saw a great early game come out of Enzo. It looked very promising, but it's been kind of falling apart here and there.
Yeah, a little bit of a mixed bag here from the side of Berjaya. It felt like they couldn't decide if they wanted to commit for picks or for 5v5s around Kennen, Graves, Morg, ults, and honestly just got left hanging out to dry here. All of their commitments seem to have been onto Koala. Oh. Yeah, the Nidalee, Ezreal poke and Siege is kinda gross.
There we go, Descend's gonna come out from Gemini. Able to Assault. Meanwhile, Tower just gets taken down mid, and now Machi, 2 fronts of Assault onto the base of Berjaya, and not much can be done. Delulu's trying to fish for hooks because what? The rest of your team are toward the top side of the map. Sure, K2 is nearby, but there you go. Inhibitor Tower is going to fall, and the siege that is going to start pouring in from Machi is near unstoppable unless Berjaya find a miracle pick, find a miracle that sends onto something like Bruce or Mission, find them out of position, but it doesn't even look like that's going to be the opportunity here as both inhibitors fall.
Because of the health generated by the Morello and the Proto Belt, the Kennen is actually the most tanky member of this Berjaya squad right now. Still doesn't stop him from taking a third of his health from a single Nidalee spear, and this game is getting dramatically out of control for the side of Berjaya. Third Drake here, 1 step closer towards Soul. I think Machi can actually end before that 4th Drake even spawns.
Oh, they're on pace to. If they're able to find just one good team fight in their favor, which we've seen from Berjaya, even though they have this Kennen, he's so far behind. Now Destiny's going to be popped. Enzo has nowhere to escape without the Morgana in the shielding for the rest of the squad. He can't get himself back to safety. True Shot Barrage not going to be able to find his spark. PK onto the back line, able to find 2 knockers. Bruce over the wall and just shuts down K2 immediately. Flashing on forward with the Mystic Shot. Is able to take down both bot lanes of Berjaya Dragons. And Machi poised now to start pushing in through the bot lane.
Yeah, Machi find the pick that Berjaya were hoping for, and Machi now can close off of that one. It feels like Machi have the inferior pick comp, and yet they're the ones finding Leona Oz, finding gold cards, finding everything, and they will push with it.
There we go, though. On to Bruce. They get the shutdown with the Kennen, but you see the rest of the team is nowhere to be found as Ozzy is going to get soloed out. Sure, he goes into his stopwatch, but just like that, Machi look to respond and remind us why they are at the top of the standings, able to turn back the early game and bring home the victory over Berjaya Dragons.
Such a promising early start for the side of Berjaya, but unfortunately, not a lot they could have done there. They try too many different things. They fish for team fights, they fish for picks, they don't commit to one in particular, and just trip up over themselves trying to play 2 drastically different styles at once.
Yeah, unfortunately, it looked good at the beginning there for Berjaya. Like, considering you also had to consider the fact that Machi currently are up in that big three at the top of the standings, and for Berjaya, we had not seen any of this aggression for a majority of the summer split. We saw it back in spring, but then it kind of just got pushed to the side. They said we want to play more coordinated, more, poke style kind of setups that required a lot of coordination. They brought back a bit more aggression here in this game, but it still just wasn't enough.
Yeah, the secure on that victory as well, super crucial for Machi to contest the very top of those standings. And as well as that, it does mean Berjaya playoffs lives very much on the line for a better seeding here.
You see here, a lot of these fights, it's kind of a great example of just how disjointed a lot of Berjaya were, as Machi are able to easily clean up things.
Bruce is untouched throughout all of this, and yet no one is dying on the side of Machi.
And that's why Bruce sits at the top of the damage charts. 21,000 there on the Ezreal. Mission close behind, was able to come online with that Twisted Fate, and I'll argue his early Twisted Fate was often responded quite well by Berjaya when it came to the Destinies, but was able to still pull it through into the later part of the game and looked solid overall.
This is kind of symptomatic of Berjaya though, when they have the fact that they have a winning counter mid matchup, and yet what can you do with it? It's Morgana. She can maybe find a pick, but when she misses the Qs, doesn't really contribute anything at all. Only gives you consistent wave clear. That's it. And Berjaya, they needed to snowball much harder with the lead they generated than they actually did. And as a result of that, just, yeah, as we said, full flat, trying to execute on multiple facets of a team comp with no clear single identity.
So again, congratulations on to Machi. Berjaya Dragons, though, in the meantime, are still actually one of those teams that could get easily knocked out of playoff contention by Liab if they are not careful. They only have the 2 extra victories over the squad at the moment, and now really need to get their act together over the next 2 days if they want to be able to secure a safe safety net. But let's go ahead. MVP for that game is going to go on over to Gemini on the Nidalee.
Clear, solid performance in the early stages of the game while everyone else fell apart around him. Played his own game, did his own thing, and eventually bridged the gap to where his team could make a convincing comeback, largely off of his consistency.
So there we have it. End of our second day of Super Week so far. So 1 or 2 little upsets, but other than that, majority of our games went on over to the favored teams. We got to see the return of form, though, coming back from PSG, and for Taipei J Team, they have some cleaning up to do. Let's go ahead, though, and go on over to an interview with Koala alongside
大家好，我
Patty.
是 Koala。
好 k o 你好，那先是恭喜你们赢下了这场比赛的胜利哦。那这边有几个问题想要对你做一下简单的采访。那你们今天稍早的比赛当中呢，中了 Mission 也是选用了逆命啊，但是最后是输掉了。那为什么你们这场比赛还是这么有自信手抢逆命呢？
So earlier today, Mission chose Twisted Fate in the mid lane against Alpha, and he didn't do really well, and you guys lost that game. So why do you guys chose it today again?
因为我觉得就是上一场你打得不好，不代表下一场打得不好，然后我们也就是做了赛后的检讨这样。
We trust him because we think that just not performing well in one game doesn't mean that the second time he's still not going to perform well. And we did a review after that game, so I think we should give him another chance.
我看也是对自己的队友非常有自信，而且在这个赛后调整的部分也做得非常快。
那第二题的话，就想要问一下，你们就是进入季后赛已经算是确定的事情。那前面有访问过 AH 跟 PSG， 他们都说不想要遇到台北之战队。那因为他们觉得这个团战他们处理很强。那你们最不想遇到谁呢？为什么？
So now that you're 100% sure that you're getting into the playoffs, I'm going to ask you the same question that we asked AHQ and PSG earlier. They told us that they don't want to meet Taipei J Team because they're really good at team fights. Who do you guys want to avoid the most and why?
我觉得遇到谁都没关系嘛，因为你只要就是想拿冠军的话，就是每队都要打赢嘛。
It doesn't matter to me because if we want to win the championship, then we need to beat everyone. So that's my answer.
那也是非常谢谢 Koala 接受我们的采访，恭喜你们赢下这场比赛。 哇，也是非常有自信的回答。我觉得这个就是有冠军相的队。
Well, there we go. Seemed like Quick Review was able to give confidence back into the team to, stand alongside Mission on the Twisted Fate pick. So, again, good job overall there to Machi. They're able to at least equal out their game 1-1 and not fall in both their matches.
Yeah, 100% credit to Machi for pulling that one back. Still looks a little bit shaky, and Bajaya do have a lot of promise behind them.
Yeah, so we'll see here for Bajaya. Again, there is a little bit of do or die time, so let's go ahead and review with all the action that did take place today, as we saw HQ taking down Liab, then HK able to take home the victory over Nova. Taipei J Team able to take down Resurgence in what was considered a bit of a meme fest and a bit of just a bunch of a brawl, you could say at the very least, but then ended up falling to PSG later on in the day.
Yeah, honestly, looking at some of these games, the biggest upset would have been that Alpha Machi game that we mentioned. And Machi just, closing one back out. All of the top teams that we saw play today did win. Really important for HKA that they got that win early in the day as well, though, because suddenly this team that would be fighting for the bottom end of playoffs could still make a splash and take a couple of games off of some of our favorites.
Yeah, because with that, it is going to be Nova. Currently still on that bubble when it comes to the playoff bracket, as they currently sit in prime position for Liab to overtake them if they can find 3 wins from that Philippine-based squad, as we will likely go ahead and take a look on toward our standings to see how things are currently shaping up for playoffs. As you see, HQ currently at the top alongside Taipei J Team with 12 wins, Machi just behind them with 11, and then PSG in 4th with 10.
Yeah, and then the rest of the table is not quite as clear-cut. Alpha 7-7, HKA 6-8, and then everybody else just kind of trailing. Of course, with Resurgence being the only one that is relatively out of it.
And that's a clear thing. You saw Bajaya. They are within striking distance of Liab, as if Liab are able to take down 2 wins as well as actually win their matchup up against Bajaya in the final week of play next week. There's a solid opportunity that Liab might be still able to make a run into playoffs. Unfortunately, Resurgence, it's looking a bit dire as we take a look toward what would be coming up next, and it is just it's just apparently everything is coming up next, Briz, to say the very least.
Quite a bit indeed, yes. Tomorrow's got some hype games.
Yeah, tomorrow you're actually going to be looking at starting things off the day with Bajaya Dragons taking on Taipei J Team. The big matchups, though, if you're wanting to watch it, it is going to be PSG Talon taking on AHQ for our 4th game of the day.
Yeah, following that one will be HKA versus Machi, which is interesting because you see Machi dropping to Alpha, solidly middle of the pack team, and HKA making a splash and a name for themselves earlier in the split by upsetting their fair share of top teams too.
Yeah, and if you're a Liab fan, maybe there is some hope if they can try and take down Hong Kong Attitude. But again, still a lot to be played out here for the PCS. We still have those 3 days remaining here of the summer split. And if you guys enjoyed the show, be sure to check out the rest of our channels, whether that's over on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. You guys can keep up to date with all the news as well as side content from the PCS, as well as being translated into English. And if you guys are over on Twitter, you can go ahead and check out LOL Esports PCS. Keep up to date with our English account over for the league. As well, if you guys enjoyed the casting, be sure to look for the !casters command over on Twitch. You guys can follow us over on our socials for myself, Abriz, and Riku if you enjoyed any of our random banter or, our non-stop screaming, to say the very least.
Okay. Thank you, I'll keep that in mind.
Hey,
I'll follow you.
you'll follow me. You're not following me yet, Abriz? What's going on? I thought we were friends. Come on now. You can learn the story of the double headset, all right, and what's going on here. Only over on the Twitters, obviously. As well as you guys can check out some of the teams that actually are interacting with the fans over in English on some of those platforms. Always a hoot coming out from PSG Talon, so I highly recommend checking out them. They're always a bit of, I guess you could say, a little bit rude at times. They always like their friendly banter. Friendly with some, asterisks right there. Again, I'm just trying to fill out time here, Abriz, because the show is taking a lot longer than it should.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Hey, there we
There
go.
we go.
You know the
I
music.
was thinking of something, but I summoned it.
There you go. That's going to be the end of our broadcast. Thank you guys for joining us here for day 2 of week 6. We'll be back tomorrow, same place, same time, for more action for the BCS.